Chiwetel, Karen, how you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for talking with me about this amazing film. Loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it.
Oh, thanks.
Karen, you're reuniting with Mike Flanagan, who you previously worked on with in Oculus. So what's
That's
it
right.
like working with him in general?
I mean, it's the best. I had such a good experience on Oculus, I really did. It's the whole reason I moved over to America, and I had a brilliant time. And I kept saying to him, I want to do it again. I would visit his set during Haunting of Hill House and be like, when are you going to put me in something again? And then he finally did, so I was very happy.
Did it feel different working in a sort of less horror-adjacent realm than Oculus?
No, not really.
No?
But I think
Yeah.
that I never take in the genre of the film I'm making. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I'm never it's never on my mind. I'm just always like trying to be like vaguely truthful in what I'm doing. And I don't even really register when I'm making a comedy versus a drama. It's just more like trying to feel something genuinely.
Yeah, characters don't know what kind of movie they're in.
Right. Yeah.
And Chiwetel, what was your experience like working with Mike?
I loved it. I mean, I just, I thought that he, I loved the script and I loved the conversation with Mike initially, and and then really I was surprised by how curated the experience was of being on a Mike Flanagan set. Just from the moment that I arrived, and every decision in terms of heads of department and in terms of the casting and all of the crew, and just everybody having this very shared sense of what they were trying to achieve. And I think it was very clear the kind of profound respect for him that was there, and that everybody really got what this story was trying to say and trying to do. And I really appreciated that. I really appreciated being in such a kind of immersive experience as an actor. It felt very comforting, actually, and therefore freeing, to be in that kind of space. And so I think he does create a world that is that's very kind of rich.
Now, you two play characters with a very specific relationship that I haven't really seen explored too much on film. You're a formerly married couple that's since divorced, but you still get along. How did you convey that bond to the audience so quickly with, you're just in a segment of the film itself?
Well, I think we'd sort of done work on the backstory and filled in the blanks a little bit, and then just tried to prepare as much as possible. And then just kind of jumped into it on the day. It was the big phone call sequence, and it was Chiwetel's side of the coverage that was first. That was the first thing that we did together. So you were really thrown in at the deep end. But I was on the other end of the phone for support.
Yeah, it felt like there was a lot that had happened off screen, that we'd kind of been able to figure out, so that it felt very natural. And you're right, this is not a hugely explored kind of dynamic, but it felt very honest that you would reach out to somebody and have that kind of, your last sort of real sort of connection with somebody would be so important to you when things were sort of maybe falling apart a little bit. And in this kind of apocalyptic state, all of those things that were just sort of slightly left unsaid, would have to kind of be resurfaced. You couldn't, things can't be left till tomorrow anymore.
Chiwetel, they gave you quite a lot for your first day on the set. Wow.
You're telling me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
All right.
I can't be.
Thank you.
I can't be made nervous on a first day anymore because
Yeah, you
this
did
was
the worst
really
thing.
the deep end.
Fabulous. Well, congrats on this amazing film. I'm so excited for more people to check it out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Cody.
Hi, Kate. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very happy to be talking with you.
Yeah, same.
All right. So not only are you working once again in this film with your husband, Mike Flanagan, but your son, Cody. Nice name.
Good, Cody.
He plays the youngest version of Chuck. And, I imagine with the themes of this film, working with your family was extra special. So what was that like, especially getting to see Cody's big screen debut firsthand?
Oh, it was so wonderful. It was a great moment of I Contain Multitudes watching Cody walk onto that set because I was ready. I had done a little bit of reading about like how to help a kid who is having stage fright and how to help a kid feel comfortable in a very overwhelming space like a film set. And I had talked to him a lot about that he can take his time. He doesn't have to get it right. And I was very nervous the night before. And when I tell you that that boy walked onto that film set with more confidence than I have had in 20 years of performing. I just blown away. Multitudes. He contains multitudes. And you can ask Mark Hamill about this. And like, my God, what a sentence to say. My son's first scene was with Mark Hamill. But Cody was so dynamic that in a scene where Mark and Mia were supposed to be kind of talking and ignoring him, they couldn't. And then he's playing trains and he's talking and he's giggling. He's like, I think I should talk here. And he came alive in such a marvelous way. This very sweet, sensitive boy who, I've held to my heart since I created him with Mike. To see him kind of start to become who he is as a person, well, that's a special thing that I'll remember forever.
Doing us Cody's proud. I love to hear it.
Cody's are the best. Never met a bad
You said it, not me. Now, this character, it's a bit different than some of the characters you usually play in Mike's work. Characters like the ones you had in Haunting of Hill House, Midnight Mass, they're more prickly, more hard-edged. This one is described by the narrator as a sweet, hippy-dippy-ish young woman. I had to write that down. Just perfect.
It's so good.
So what was it like playing a character that we haven't seen you do as much in a Mike Flanagan project?
It was a very interesting challenge because Miss Richards is incredibly memorable in what she says to the audience. She needs to stick out in your mind, but she's a very small part of the story. And so keeping that balance was very important in the performance, where she was just specific enough that you were going to remember the message, but it wasn't so overwhelming that the character sticks out like a sore thumb. And so I took very simply what Stephen King wrote, a hippy-dippy young woman who, this is probably her last year teaching. She didn't like it. And I tried to just fill that up with a life so it felt real, but not put upon, like not a coat I was wearing, so that the audience would feel the inauthenticity. There you go. Because I'm about to teach you something. And if I teach you something and you think that I'm full of crap, you're not going to believe what I say. And so as a performer, I had to be as grounded as I possibly could be in order to try to explain to the audience and to Chuck what I Contain Multitudes means.
Mm. Now, working on a non-horror project, did you find you had to adjust a bit as an actor, or did that not really affect your performance at all?
Mike Flanagan, I will go to my grave saying this, doesn't write horror projects. Mike Flanagan writes dramas and stories about people going through impossible circumstances. Sometimes those circumstances are horrific, and sometimes those circumstances are life of Chuck, which is just being alive. And so I myself, yes, I did not scream and run away from my dead mother, nor did I have to hide under a house from a serial killer or have my face ripped off by a monkey. But, it presents its own challenges.
Amazing. It's all about perspective, just like
all
the
about
film tells you.
Multitudes.
Absolutely. All right, Kate, thanks so much. I'm so excited for more people to check out The Life of Chuck. It has been fantastic.
Go forth, Cody. Be wonderful.
Hey, Cody.
Hi, Matthew. How you doing today?
Thanks.
Good, thanks. I'm so excited to talk to you in general, but specifically about this incredible film, The Life of Chuck. So thanks for chatting with me.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Of course. Now, you get one glorious scene in this film. How did you prepare to play a character like this when there's comparatively so little on the page?
It's good question. Look at the end of the day, you want to make sure that sort of it's a Flanagan monologue, so you want to make sure you're solid on lines. I mean, that's part of it. And that kind of having confidence in lines and that many so quickly is it just imbues you with a sense of strength and the ability to sort of be present for what's happening in the moment, which therefore allows you to have these sort of moments of breakthrough. And that was what was great about this, is that on the day, in that moment, along comes this little piece of emotion that, that really at the end of the day sort of lands that scene with a lot of weight. And I'm really proud of the work, and I'm glad it worked out. It doesn't always happen that way, but it was a good day.
I was going to say, you work up to some emotions very quickly. Did Mike Flanagan work specifically with you on that moment, or was that something you were able to get to?
No, it just happened. I mean, we were talking about the weight of the world ending, and sort of it's easy enough to sort of lean into the given circumstances of that and find, things happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, pretty relatable text you got there. Maybe a little bit extreme compared to what's going on, but it's easy to draw comparisons between.
Yeah, it does feel like the movies that being released at the right time in the right era and the right moment. That's for sure.
I would totally agree with that. Absolutely. Your scene partner is the great Chiwetel Ejiofor. What was it like working with him?
Oh, he's lovely. He's great. I didn't, we worked again. I have a very small part of the movie. I had like half a day of work. We went bowling. He beat me in bowling. That son of a bitch. He's a great dude. I feel like, look, the weight of that scene is mostly on my shoulders. And so he was totally present and available and a great partner. And, it was a blast to work with him.
Totally. And Mike Flanagan in general, what was it like working with him, as brief as it was?
He's the best. He's as good as it gets. He's like, I know people say like, this guy's great, or, you don't find good guys in Hollywood. Like, he is the nicest, most down-to-earth, kind, giving director/writer. He's become a good buddy of mine since before we shot the movie. And that's why I went to go do this little part. Just to be a part of his universe was a gift. And so, and look, and it's grown since the movie. So I can't say enough great things. In fact, I would be shocked if you found somebody in this town or on this film or anywhere else in between that has a negative thing to say about the guy. He's great.
That's been doing a lot of interviews with us today. I'm getting that sense from everybody working on this movie is that everybody is so happy to have worked with him both emotionally and personally.
I mean, I think that, look, some movies you do to make money and feed your kids. Other movies come along and are like a gift to you as a creative entity, like you as an actor, you as an artist. And so this is certainly that for me, I'm sure for most people. It's just a total blessing to be a part of it. And these things don't happen all the time. And so when they come around in your career, I've been around for 30 years, there's a handful of these in my life. And so when I'm at the age now where you can appreciate the moment when you're in the moment. And I just feel really blessed to be a part of it. I know that sounds like every sports guy out there is like, we just want to win the game. It's a good win. So it's kind of a BS answer, but the reality is that, these little beats don't happen that often. And it's just really grateful. I'm really grateful.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Matthew. I'm so happy I got to talk to you, and your work in the film, as brief as it is extremely impactful. So excellent work.
Thank you, Cody. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Mia, Sara, how are you doing today?
I'm very well. How are you?
Very well. Thanks for chatting with me. I just wanted to start with, this is your first credit in over a decade. So what about this film drew you back to working on camera?
Mike Flanagan. It's
Right answer.
yeah, it's really all about Mike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what was it like working with him? Was he all you hoped he would be if he brought you back like that?
He was all I hoped he would be. I mean, I knew him socially, and he is a wonderful person. And it was such a good experience. It really was. He's such a kind person, and he's such a confident director. Because I was, I've been a long time, so I was feeling a little wobbly, and he was very, very good.
Were you expecting something a little bit more spooky given his filmography, or was this a nice change of pace for you?
I was a huge fan of his spooky and not so spooky things, but because he told me about this project and what it meant to him, and the fact that it was the story he wanted to tell for his children, and I've met his children who are adorable, and his stunning wife, and so I knew what it meant. I knew the tenor of the piece was different. But I think all of Mike's work, even the really, really scary things, are moving.
Absolutely. I mean, he put his entire ethos into it. And in a way, your character is almost like the heart of the film especially around the main character of Chuck. A good portion of your screen time is devoted to showing really devastating grief expressed with just your face. So tell me about working with and expressing heavy emotions like that and having to convey them so quickly.
Well, I've been around for a while, so I've experienced grief, and I just thought about it. I mean, the benefit of being older and working again on film is that. I mean, I have a lot more, sadly, but as we all will and do have material to work with. So yeah, I mean, my mom had died very recently, so it wasn't very hard. I had some recent grief. Yeah.
And I'm sure he clearly works with this type of thematic material a lot, so he was helpful in guiding you through that.
He's a great storyteller, and he does this amazing thing on set. Before every shot, he brings everyone onto the set, everyone, actors, but all crew members, anyone who could sit onto the set. And he tells you the story. He tells you why the scene is important, how it fits into the rest of the story, what needs to happen, what he's hoping for. He's an extraordinary director. He really is amazing. That's why people want to work with him again and again and again, because he's wonderful.
That's so reflected on the screen. I love to hear that. Before I let you go, I want to hear what it was like working with Mark Hamill, who plays your on-screen husband.
Oh, cool. I grew up in the 70s. I got to be married to Luke Skywalker. Well, wow. And he does not disappoint. He is completely adorable and so sweet and so funny. And we had a really, really lovely time.
I'm so glad to hear that. All right, Mia, thank you so much. This has been amazing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hi, Annalise. How you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. Cody, how are you?
Good, thanks. So excited to chat with you about this amazing film. Thank you for taking the time with me. So to start out with, obviously you're part of one of the most talked about sequences of the film, which is this incredible dance sequence with you and Tom Hiddleston. What was it like preparing for that? You got to work with the amazing Mandy Moore, one of the great choreographers for film and TV. So what was the process like getting ready for that?
Well, it was life-changing because just to be able to work with Mandy, I mean, I've loved dance my entire life, and just be able to fall under her leadership and I don't know, it was being able to learn swing from her and watch her dance and be like, okay, now you come do it. It's like, yes, anything. And she pushed me. We share a mutual love of dance. And yeah, it was life-changing just because dance is something that I've been pretty precious with my whole life. Not a lot of people know I can do it. And then just to share it with the world in this way. Like there's no better way to do it than with a routine choreographed by Mandy Moore.
I'm glad you brought up your dance history, because I want to know, did you have a specific history with dance before this film, and what was it exactly?
Sorry, do you hear my cat scratching around in the box?
I don't. Nope.
Right. Tearing apart a box. Okay, so I had grown up dancing for most of my life, and it started with ballet, and then hip hop and jazz and tap and all of that. And then, yeah, with Mandy, I had to learn swing and bossa nova, and really, I've danced socially, salsa nights and cha-cha nights and bachata and all of that. But technically, I needed a lot more work, and she just molded me, and it was a pleasure to let her do that.
Right, because it's almost like a medley of dance styles. Like you said, there's everything. It's incredible. How long did the actual shooting process of that take? Because it's the majority of your time in this film is that one dance sequence, and it is not short.
4 days.
4 days. All right.
4 days. We did that routine from top to tail every day for 4 days.
Wow. And dancing on pavement is not easy either. So
dancing in heels when it's hot. Fun.
I noticed that. So good work there. You worked with Mike Flanagan before. This is not your first time. You were in Oculus. You were in Ouija: Origin of Evil. So what's it like working with him? And do you hope to work with him again in the future?
Yes, I want to work with Mike for the rest of my life, and because he continues to push himself and challenge himself as an artist, and I think that takes a lot of courage because this is something that he's never really done before, is tell a story like this, and that's a huge risk to take, and I think more artists need to be taking more risks, because again, when you have something like, your art that is so... It can either be a means to be successful, or just practicing the art and being authentic and truthful in your expression of it can be a success. And like the fact that he is prioritizing what is resonating with him now instead of like what people necessarily want to see or are expecting from him is huge. And I want to practice that in my own life, and I want to be a part of other projects where he chooses to, go off and discover something new.
Absolutely. This is so very much his artistic ethos, and I'm so glad you got to be a part of it in such a fun way.
Me too.
All right. Thanks so much, Annalise.